We did receive a question from one of our viewers. Justin asks, or wants one of us to be in charge of DC and one of us to be in charge of Marvel. Now that we're in charge of those companies, what are some of the first policies that we will implement? I'll take the Marvel side because Marvel is the company that I have the most issues with at this point. The first thing I would do if I were running Marvel would be to cut my output by 50%. Marvel is publishing way too many comic books right now. And that's not a problem that's specific to Marvel, but Marvel is in the lead with that. If you have a core character that justifies their own book, they should be in one book and maybe two at the most. I think we've seen that people are getting burnt out on 6 Deadpool books or seeing Wolverine in 6 or 12 different books. And history is repeating itself. The publishers should remember that this happened in the 90s and the comic book industry almost died because people left. You were getting gimmicky covers. I mean, Marvel's still doing variants. They're still doing, they toyed with foilogram stuff a couple of months ago. It's like they were sleeping during the 90s and forgot what happened. So by cutting your output, one of the things that would go along with that is cutting your miniseries and your one-shots. It used to be, back when I was a boy, when I was reading comics in the 80s, it had to be a really special event to justify a miniseries. And there weren't any one-shots. And if they were prestige format, massive one-shots. They weren't a little 32-page or 22-page one-shot. Miniseries are clogging up the racks. Not everybody can afford to buy all of these things. And I think Marvel's using it as a testing ground for their new writers and their new artists with limited success. People have a set budget for comic books. If you've been spending $50 a month on comics for the last 12 months, you're not suddenly going to be able to spend $100 or $200. So there are limited funds available. Launching all of this new stuff is not necessarily going to get anybody new on board unless you market your comic books to the general public. And that's something that no one is doing right now outside of putting the comic shop locator on inserts within DVDs that are related to comic book characters. And frankly, I would be amazed if anybody even looked at that and called that number or went to the website. We've got a slew of comic book movies coming out next year, not just from Marvel, but from DC. My personal preference would be that those companies would run 30-second commercials prior to the movie, encouraging people to visit their local comic book store to follow the further adventures of these characters. Right now, the publishers are leaving the marketing of comic books almost exclusively up to the retailers. And most of us are small independent retailers that don't have massive marketing budgets, like Warner Brothers and Disney, the two companies that own DC and Marvel. The publishers really need to get with the game here and realize that it's their responsibility to market their product to the general public in addition to our responsibility. We need to work together to get new readers on board and to bring back lapsed readers. It cannot be the sole responsibility of retailers. That's what I have.
On my day with the cup. Oh, no, Marvel Comics. Marvel Comics.
No, DC.
DC.
Yes,
awesome.
I did Marvel.
You did Marvel. That's what that was about. DC, first thing I do is I put Grant Morrison's head on a pike. It's not that I don't respect some of his catalog, but most of what he puts out is gibberish. I just don't get it. That's fine. It doesn't need to be in a high-selling title, and keep him the heck away from Batman. The next thing that needs to be fixed is deadlines. If a book's supposed to come out on a day, I want it to come out on that day. I understand that people are human and things go wrong, but you know that people are human and you know that things are going to go wrong. You control when these things come out. You control when you promise them to me. So I want to announce something once it's ready to come out. Once it's ready to be published, good to go, then we can have it. And Grant Morrison's head on a pike again.
Thank you for listening to our rant. We may not get another question. No, if you have a question that you'd like us to tackle, list it in the comments below and we'll do our best to get to it. We might not be able to get a show taped next week because of the holiday, so if we don't have the time, wanted to wish you and your families a Merry Christmas, and thank you for your patronage if you visited Alter Ego Comics. And if you haven't, why haven't you? Come in, check stuff out. We'll point you in the right direction towards stuff that we think you'll like based on your interests. So Merry Christmas to everybody, a prosperous 2011, and we thank you for watching.
Have a good Wookiee Life Day also.